Hi everybody, and welcome to another WeatherCastUSA Quickcast. On this Quickcast, we're going to break down the Pacific Northwest flood threat, a continuing atmospheric river pattern bringing heavy rain and mountain snows to the Pacific Northwest, as well as look at a big winter warm-up ahead of the Christmas holiday season for much of the eastern and central U.S., including areas that recently were under an intense cold Arctic air mass with negative 10 to 20 degree wind chills, even lower in some areas. And those areas, much of the central and eastern U.S., are going to warm up ahead of the Christmas holiday. So let's get into it. I'm going to pause the satellite here and just kind of go through a little bit of what's going on here just on the infrared satellite, looking at the continental U.S. A few snow showers possible here along the Great Lakes and into the St. Lawrence Valley, the interior portions of the Northeast. That circle got a little too big there, so more like really like this area here. Some snow showers, very light, as a system kind of works through southern Ontario and the northern areas of the Great Lakes. Some of that will get into the interior Northeast. It's pretty cold there today still. Highs 20s and 30s across the Northeast and Great Lakes. We can already see a bit of the high pressure here, centered really off the areas here, coastal Georgia, South Carolina, still drawing some of that cooler air down in here. We can already see a little bit of a return flow. There's also kind of a weak trough over northern Mexico. That's helping to pump a little bit of moisture into the western Gulf Coast, maybe a few isolated showers and thunderstorms along the southern parts of Texas and the coastal areas of Texas, really. But we are starting to see a bit of a warm up here across the central U.S. Areas that, again, were in the single digits of teens the other day for high temperatures are well into the 40s, 50s, and especially here across the central U.S., 60s and 70s. So that's going to feel a lot different compared to a pretty cool period across the northern and eastern U.S. We still see pleasant weather today across the desert Southwest, the Four Corners, clear conditions and sunny conditions. Highs in the Southern California, desert Southwest, Phoenix area, Phoenix, Vegas, LA basin area, 70s to 80s. So things are really pleasant there. If you have any holiday travel or any maybe late shopping to do, get out and enjoy the nice weather where you can there in the desert Southwest. It's actually pretty warm all the way up into the northern high plains, Montana, Wyoming. Unless you're in those really high elevations of the Rockies, it's in the 50s to 60s for a lot of this area as well. And then despite the warmer weather, it is definitely a rainier pattern. We can see that with the water vapor image across the Pacific Northwest, and we'll get into that here in just a couple minutes. But that's a very brief look and a really rough and general look at the current pattern across the continental U.S. So let's look at it a little further. This is the atmospheric river. We can actually see that moisture starts down here basically in the subtropical Pacific near Hawaii and is pumped up north and east towards the Pacific Northwest. And this is a pattern that's basically held, for the last week or so, plus high pressure essentially down here in the Four Corners and Southwest. We have clockwise flow around the high pressure, and we have a low pressure that's been sitting off the southeast coast of Alaska. You can see that big trough in here. We have counterclockwise flow around a low pressure in the northern hemisphere. And you can see it doesn't take a super scientist to see how those two features kind of interact and really help focus that plume of moisture from the deeper subtropical Pacific and even tropical Pacific all the way rocketed north and east into the Pacific Northwest. That also includes areas here into southwestern British Columbia, where areas like Vancouver have experienced a lot of the same river flooding, flash flooding, landslides, that kind of stuff that's been going an extended period of time in the Pacific Northwest. If you do have Christmas plans or holiday travel across the border, just know that some of those areas are also affected by the atmospheric river. And then we can see how that pattern and that really that polar jet stream, that northern jet stream, has really been the dominant feature across the U.S. the last about a week or two, with Arctic air funneling in to the northern and central U.S. with the high pressure, a ridge basically built here into the southwest, and then a really kind of weak subtropical jet. It's brought moisture every now and then into parts of Texas and the Gulf Coast, but very inactive here for the moment. Just kind of just really steady, fairly calm weather across a lot of the southern tier. We've had intrusions of some of that Arctic air mass as there's been dips and things into the more active northern jet stream. But essentially, we've been kind of riding this this pattern of a ridge out here and Arctic high over here. And yeah, it's been kind of like that for the last couple weeks, which is one of the reasons we haven't really done one of these in a while. Haven't had a quick cast in a while. There hasn't been any large-scale, widespread severe weather activity. And other than clipper systems bringing rounds of snow, it's been a relatively quiet period. Also, really a quiet end. Also, hurricane season. We ended hurricane season with no landfalling hurricanes in the U.S. So that also held down the fall kind of second season of severe weather. And I'll get into it here in just a few minutes on why I think the second season for severe weather is pretty much dead. There is really minimal chances at severe weather until basically second season is over. And we'll get into that in just a couple minutes. But starting today, we can see another kind of area of low pressure, little waves. The atmospheric river has these little short waves and systems kind of built into it. So as one kind of comes ashore, there's a bit of a break like there was Sunday, I think it was, about Sunday, Saturday, something like that in the Pacific Northwest. And then, you know, within a day or so, there's another one behind it. So we're seeing these little wrinkles kind of in this atmospheric river. But one coming through today. The one good news is we'll see that here. This pattern shifts a little bit to a more zonal flow. That's going to put a little bit less funneling into the Pacific Northwest and actually spread a little more of this moisture down in Northern California, an area that could use some rain and hopefully just take a little less focus on the Pacific Northwest. There may be hints of a break, but there's still, in general, a lot of moisture funneling in the Pacific Northwest. This particular run of the GFS has another little disturbance coming through on the 22nd. So, you know, even if the atmospheric river kind of weakens a little bit and meanders to the south, there's still going to be a general flow with a more active polar jet stream until we really get towards really the first of the year, the end of the month sort of thing. Looking at more of this atmospheric river, I wanted to plot out, this is going through basically the end of the week, 114 hours. After that, it actually continues to add up. But again, I think there could be some breaks in there. But at least on the reliable end of the modeling, we do see that there's a general area here, this red and pink color. That's a general 3 to 4 inches of rain. And then when we get into the yellow shades, that's more like 8 to 10 inches of rain. This is just showing the total precipitation in inches. Some of this here in the mountains is going to be converted into heavy mountain snow. So this is not all going to fall in liquid precipitation, especially in these areas here along some of those higher areas, those peaks of the Olympics and the Cascades. That's going to be more snowfall. But in general, around those higher peaks, there's still going to be a lot of rainfall. This also spills out into areas here across Idaho, western Montana. Again, kind of the same thing. Lower elevations are going to get moderate to heavy rainfall, and the higher elevations are going to get the heavy snowfall. Some of the snowfall estimates show maybe feet of snow over the next few days in the Cascades and some of the northern Rockies. This is not a good situation. The soils are already fully saturated across the Pacific Northwest. The rivers are already at flood stage. A few rivers are at major flood stage. A number of other rivers are at moderate flood stage. And this is going to prolong any and all the flooding, the threats for flash flooding, urban street flooding, for landfalls and mudslides. And then also, eventually, all that water does drain into the river basins. So that'll also prolong the river flooding. With some gusty winds with this atmospheric river and these little systems working along this atmospheric river, the gusty winds plus the saturated soil could also cause trees to fall. That could cause travel issues on its own from blocking roads, but also power outages, taking down power lines. So it's going to be a nasty couple more days at least. And yeah, looking long term, it's not like this area completely dries out. We may get an end to the atmospheric river, but then a couple other systems look to work through later in the month. So overall, a generally wet and extended kind of period where we have to watch for flash flooding in the Pacific Northwest. And with that system, the Storm Prediction Center actually did add a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5, for severe thunderstorms this afternoon and especially late this evening, late Tuesday, overnight into Wednesday. The main hazard, and really the only hazard with this outlined by the Storm Prediction Center, is the threat for damaging winds. with that wind energy, and we saw it a little bit on the upper level pattern. This is the 500 millibar winds, really your jet stream level winds. You can see some really strong upper level winds. Oop, let me go back just a little bit. Paused on the 18th. So let's go back to today. But either way, really the same setup. Yeah, you can see some really strong upper level winds approaching the Pacific Northwest, and even low top convection, which the Storm Prediction Center is expecting fairly low top convection. That's going to be able to draw some of those wind energies down to the ground level and the surface level. So that's why there is a pretty broad area of marginal risk tonight, stretching from Seattle, Salem, Eugene, down to Eureka, California, and then over towards Lewiston and Spokane. Also, a few isolated thunderstorms are possible in southern Texas, maybe working up into the Arklatex. Those don't look, the models aren't particularly strong on those. Maybe a very isolated, even thunderstorm. I think mostly, at least tonight, it's mostly going to be, I think, shower activity, but a few rumbles of thunder possible there. I do want to take a look at this feature here. This is a low pressure and a trough that'll drag a cold front across the central U.S. into the Tennessee and Ohio Valley on Thursday. This is looking at December 18th. Some trends have picked up a little bit on severe weather, especially I think here in the mid-Mississippi and Ohio valleys, an area that's pretty typical to get some second season severe weather. And this really is the area that is kind of the focus for really maybe one or two systems to bring some at least enhanced thunderstorm activity and some marginally severe potential before the end of the year. I think there's this shot here on Thursday of this week. And then looking out further, there may be another shot towards the 27th or 28th. That can kind of wiggle back and forth depending on the timing and the actual trough ejection and things like that. So we're a little far out to fully determine on what day, but somewhere 27th, 28th, there is a potential. I think it'd probably be in that same general area across the Ohio Valley, the mid-Mississippi Valley, for mostly a damaging wind threat, I think, for both of these systems. This first one would have, I think, a better shot at all hazard severe threat. But we'll see here in just a minute that the moisture content isn't great. It doesn't really draw enough instability and moisture northward to get enough severe weather. Although the upper level wind pattern does seem sufficient, at least at the moment. We'll get better data on this here in the next 12 to 24 hours, but definitely a pretty vigorous upper level pattern that would support severe weather. And I just want to go out looking at tomorrow. Just some general thunderstorm chances tomorrow across the Intermountain West, the Northern Rockies, and then also across the Mid-Mississippi Valley, the Lower Ohio Valley, and then down again across the coastal areas of Texas and Louisiana. Wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe a marginal risk. It'll really depend and see how much moisture can actually get pumped up from the Gulf tomorrow. But either way, tomorrow looks like a fairly quiet day. As that system works out of the Rockies and ejects across the central states, is going to deepen a low pressure. We saw that on the 500 millibar winds, and we saw that dip in those right in there like that. And that is going to produce an area of marginal risk now by the Storm Prediction Center. This is again across the Tennessee and Ohio valleys, the mid-Mississippi Valley. And right now, mostly looking at a wind threat with potential for some damaging winds, I think, across this area. Some of that wind threat actually may work into parts of the mid-Atlantic and even Northeast on Friday. So we will see if they extend that marginal risk into the day 4. Probably not going to do that. They'll probably wait and just tomorrow, that'll be the new day 3. I wouldn't be surprised again tomorrow if the day 3 marginal risk has something like that somewhere in this area. And we'll have to see if this gets extended to the south at all. Again, most of your upper level wind energy, I think, is going to be across this area. But your biggest moisture and instability will kind of be down here. So there is a potential, I think, on the southern flank of this and areas like Memphis, Jonesboro, up to Murray, where there could be a little bit more overlap between some of the higher instability and some of the higher upper level wind flow. So if I had to bet, I think it might be kind of this area that has maybe the greatest chance at some severe weather, and then that would spread mostly as a wind threat towards the north and east. but we do have a couple days to get refinements, especially in the next 12 to 24 hours. We'll get a better sense with the convective allowing models kind of honing in on things, and also a little better sense of how this system is ejecting over the Rockies. That'll give us a little better data, and certainly look for some changes on the Storm Prediction Center data and outlook for this day. This would be Thursday, if I didn't say that already, Thursday the 18th. Looking at a little further, we talked about that other system, and this is really a similar pattern for the system on Thursday. And we really see this is the look at the GFS on the Cape, and we can see the Cape is really hugging the Gulf Coast. Really doesn't get farther than the Arklatex as far as a concentrated amount of Cape. A reason I said earlier there could be a little chance of severe weather on this would be like the 27th or 28th, is the latest run in the GFS does hint, and I say that kind of loosely, but it hints at a little bit of Cape getting drawn up into the mid-Mississippi, maybe the Ohio valleys. We'll have to pay attention for that. If this continues to trend upward, if we see a more broader coverage of Cape in the next few days, or really over the next week, if we just see more of that getting pulled northward, that would be a little bit more strong indications of some severe weather potential. Right now, it looks pretty minimal. Wouldn't be surprised if, again, we see maybe a marginal risk in kind of that same area by next Wednesday or Thursday. And we kind of see the same picture with the dew points, but this GFS does show a little bit more dew points here into the mid-Mississippi and Ohio valleys by next week. So again, could we see a severe potential? Possible. And really, the way I look at it, this would be really the last chance at second season severe weather activity between this Thursday and then the 27th, 28th. Those are really the last shots at any kind of wider spread severe activity. We haven't had any second season severe weather really widespread, and we haven't even had really many second season tornadoes. Just a handful of them. We haven't had any second season tornado outbreaks. So it's been overall a quiet fall and early winter period for severe weather. The reason I kind of say second season is ending, because although there is generally an uptick in severe weather into especially later January and February, most of that tends to be across the Gulf Coast and the Southeast, or kind of the Mid-South. Some people consider that to be second season, but more or less, that's essentially early spring, as the Gulf Coast is really the first area to kind of experience some of that spring-like setup with Gulf moisture pooling and then the cool, dry air on the backside. So really we see or consider that February timeframe to just be really early spring season. It just starts along the Gulf Coast. And then by March and April, that's when we have that working up into more of the central US. If you consider the January, the new year to be really early spring, like I kind of do, then your only really shots, I think, at some maybe wider spread severe weather would be the 27th or 28th, again, somewhere in the Ohio Valley. And then on Thursday of this week, the 18th, again, kind of in that same location. That's kind of it for the second season for severe weather. Again, without any tropical systems making landfall in the later part of the hurricane season, that's typically a little boost in some of those tornado numbers in the fall and even late summer. We haven't had any of that. But we haven't had any really large-scale severe weather like we have seen in years past. I know just the other day was the anniversary of, I think it was 2021. There's a pretty big, actually one of the largest, I think, December tornado report days in Iowa. It produced a lot of EF1, EF2 tornadoes. And then the other day, I guess late last week, was the anniversary of the also 2021, the tri-state tornado that affected western Kentucky, western Tennessee, areas like that, with a bunch of major tornadoes, some violent tornadoes, EF4s, EF3s across that region. And so we haven't really seen any of those, any large-scale fall and early winter tornado outbreaks. Switching gears, looking at the weather pattern for the next week or so, and really through the month of December. If you like a white Christmas, it's going to be tough. We see here the 6 to 10 day outlook by the Climate Prediction Center, really showing that warm ridge of high pressure, really keeping things pretty warm here across the southwest and southern US. And really that spreads it pushes that northern Arctic air all the way north of the Canadian border. This doesn't mean it's going to be t-shirt weather in parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Great Lakes. This is just showing temperatures compared to average or normal. So again, some people think, oh, it's going to be a heat wave. Yes, in terms of maybe the statistical difference between your normal temperature and what it is, but if your normal temperature is 10 degrees this time of year, it's still going to be like 30 or 20. This doesn't mean there's not any cold air or any below freezing temperatures. This is just looking at, compared to the normal temperature. Now that said, there will be some 70s, 80s, some t-shirt weather down across the southern plains and the Gulf Coast over the next week or so. And that really just kind of shifts a little bit to the east, but it really just kind of holds there through the 8 to 14 day outlook. Again, there's your 6 to 10 day, your 8 to 14 day, and then this is week 3. By the first of the year and after that, we may see another Arctic blast try to invade here across the northern tier. It looks like it pushes the above average temperatures to the south some. But this is still a lot of the country that has either normal or above average temperatures. And then also looking at the gray shaded area, that is a lower percentage chance. So that's just slightly below normal. So we'll even have to see. And that could obviously change in the 3 to 4 week. And with that, this is going to be a little depressing for those snow lovers, people that want a white Christmas. Just looking at the current snowpack, much of that across the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, and even the Northeast has had at least a decent amount of snow, especially the interior Northeast. The Mid-Atlantic has actually had a decent amount of snow so far this early winter. Most of that has again melted already, but the parts of the Delmarva and recently New York got the first accumulating snowfall of the season. There are some areas of snow across southern Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and New York. That's pretty much all going to disappear over the next couple days. And really looking out, let's look at December 25th, showing a pretty low percentage chance of white Christmas anywhere really, essentially anywhere south of I-94, kind of up through this area. And then really especially across I-80, with the exception of maybe some of the highest terrain of West Virginia and the central Appalachians. But looks like most of the snow, if there's going to be a deeper snowpack, is going to be in the interior Northeast. Some of those snow belts are still going to have some snow on the ground from all the accumulation you guys have got the last few weeks or so. That includes like northern parts of Michigan, northwest Michigan, and then certainly the UP of Michigan. Once you get up towards the Canadian border, that's where we see more of the chance of a white Christmas and snow holding on through the rest of the, or snowpack, at least holding on through the rest of the month. Areas like Minot, Grand Forks, Fargo, Duluth, and then over towards Sault Ste. Marie. And then certainly we look out west. The snow is going to continue to pile up out west in those highest elevations of the Cascades, of the Sierras, and then also especially the northern Rockies. Snow is going to be measured in feet there the next couple days across the Pacific Northwest and across portions of the Montana Rockies. Yeah, there are areas that are getting snow. It's not going to be a white Christmas for areas like Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, a lot of Illinois. I'd even maybe bet on all of Illinois to be green through Christmas. Most of Indiana, if not all of Indiana. Areas that like Maryland, Virginia, areas that sometimes see snow. Most of Ohio sometimes do get a white Christmas. Not this year. And also even areas like Nebraska and Kansas. And really also the front range of the Rockies has had a really warm stretch. So you may see some snow in those higher peaks of the Rockies, but along that front range, Denver down to Colorado Springs, it looks like it's going to be no snow for at least the next week or two. And I can pretty confidently say no snow for Miami, Key West, or Orlando. Stay tuned to our social media. We post also, even when we don't have videos, we post a daily weather brief, usually mid-morning. So take a look at that. That's on Facebook, YouTube, and we'll repost the link on Twitter or X. There's our link right there, WXCastUSA on Facebook and X. And then if you're watching this, hopefully you're like and subscribe to our video, and you can click the bell icon to get notifications when we post new forecast videos or go live for severe weather coverage. Kind of up in the air. I would guess we're probably going to be at least doing a quick cast, if not at least some type of maybe live stream on at least here on the 18th. Even though it's not going to likely be a very widespread or intense severe weather day, it looks like there is going to be a risk for some severe weather. And without a lot of severe weather this summer or this fall, we'll probably do a live stream just because to shake the cobwebs off and get ready for the new year.